Computer? Yeah. All right, hi, welcome back to Right on the Money. We're going to have this class every other Monday night. And tonight we're going to go over a few things. We're going to review the last one very quickly because we had some technical difficulties last time, just about 2 minutes. And then we're going to go over the assignment I gave everybody last time and show you how mine turned out. And we're going to talk about budgeting and the two most common mistakes people make that destroys their budgets, and they wonder, where'd all the money go? And also, there was a question last week we got about credit. If we have time, we're going to answer that. And we'll answer other questions if time permits. And if we don't get to it live on Facebook tonight in a half hour together, the technical side of things. And so here we go. Last time we were here, we reviewed the three most important things in money that you got to have first before, if you're going to be successful with money. And the first one is you got to set goals. You got to have something to shoot for, or you'll never be able to control your money. The second thing you got to do is you have to know what's really important to you. Because if you don't know what's really important to you, your goals won't matter, because what's important to you is what you'll work for. And sometimes it isn't always money related. Sometimes what's important to you is something that you want to do in your life, but that money plays a part in, but maybe not necessarily be money, but it'll affect how you spend your money. And the last thing you have to decide to do is eventually commit to making a plan that you'll stick to. And if you have goals and they're important to you, you know what? When you make that plan, you'll be able to stick to it because, hey, you want to get somewhere in life. I have a question for you. Are you on a racetrack or are you on a road? And what's the difference? Well, a racetrack, they go around in circles, round and around the track. And what eventually happens? They always end up back at the beginning. They just keep going around and around and around. And that's how a lot of people's finances are. They go around and around the track, and they always seem to be back at the beginning, or what happens? Sometimes they end up in a wreck on the side of the track. Who knows what happens? They don't seem to get anywhere because a racetrack doesn't go anywhere. It just makes a big giant oval or circle. But a road leads you somewhere. You know, we want to be on the road to having you have success with your finances. And that's the point of this class. I mean, tonight I'm going to be talking about budgeting, but there's questions in that. We can take them, and each week the class can be different and go from there. And so that's what kind of a recap from the last time we were together, because our goal was to get you on a road where you control your finances instead of your finances controlling you. And last week I had an assignment, you know, because one of the important things we eventually do in life is we need to learn how to save. And most people don't know how to save. And we want to help you with that, because you have money in savings, you feel a lot better about yourself, you can do some of the things that you like to do. So I had an assignment last week, and it was round up your bill and save the cents for 2 weeks. So if you had a bill for, say, $28.62, I wanted you to round it up, that 62 up to $1, and that would give you 38 cents, and put it in a jar, or if you're on the computer, put it in a different account, or somewhere where you don't touch it, and see how much money you might save. So here's how mine worked. I had 19 purchases in the last 2 weeks, which is pretty average amount of time. Here's the cents that I rounded up to get to $1 on each one of them. 2 cents, 47 cents, 94 cents, 1 penny, 84 cents, 60 cents, 48 cents, 56 cents, 82 cents, 88 cents, 74 cents, 15 cents, 87 cents, 34 cents, 44 cents, 5 cents, 99 cents, 62 cents, and 36 cents. Now that all equaled $10.18 saved. Now you might not think like that's a lot, but we did it over 2 weeks. There's 52 weeks in a year. So if you take that divide 52 by 2, you get 26. So we take that $10.18, money that wouldn't break the bank in any way. I wouldn't think about it at all. If I was at the gas pump, I'd just pump it up to the next zero, but I decided hey, I'm going to stop at that 45.38 and save that 62 cents. And I put it away. And if you take that $10.18 and you multiply it over 26 weeks, you know, money you would normally not even think about. For a year, for me, that would equal $264.68 of saved money that I could use on whatever I want. Wouldn't you like to have another $264 at Christmas time? Wouldn't you like to be on vacation and have some extra money to play with that you didn't account for anywhere else? It's a simple way to save amount of money. And you know, hey, $264 is nothing to sneeze at. Now, one of the most important things that we need to do with our money is we got a budget. But for a lot of people, they try to budget, they fail, it doesn't work. And tonight I want to talk to you about that because this is part of developing a plan. Now, budget isn't the only plan, because you only have one thing. There's a lot of things that happen with your money, but budgeting is very important to do. And there's two common mistakes people make about budgets that I'm going to discuss. And there's questions. This is not the end-all about budgeting. There's a lot of different ways to do it. I'd be happy to take your questions. You can type a question online, and we'll answer your questions with my experts, and we'll go from there. But before we get into that, let's see what Jesus says about budgeting. Proverbs 27:23 says this: "Be diligent to know the state of your flocks and attend to your herds." And what he's saying here is you need to be diligent because you need to know what you have. You need to, in order to budget, the point of budgeting is know, hey, this is what I have coming in, this is what I have going out, am I able to do what I need to do on that? And then we have 1 Corinthians 4:2 says this: "Moreover, is required in stewards that one must be found faithful." Stewards, that's someone who gives an account of things. They're required to be faithful because their boss needs to know, hey, are they spending their money wisely? We are all stewards because God has given us the ability to have the jobs we have, the money that we have, the things that are in our lives. We need to be good stewards of all that God has given us, and we need to be faithful. And part of being faithful is, hey, do I know what's exactly coming on? Do I know the state of my affairs? God expects you to be responsible. He gave you a brain, and he wants us to use it. Now, he does not expect you to be perfect. Let me tell you this right now, no matter what kind of budget system you use, and there's a lot of systems, and we can talk about them in the next few weeks if you want to, there is no perfect budget. Everyone will have a different way to do it, and it's okay with that. The key is you have to start learning what works for you in order to account for what's going on. And he wants you to know the state of your affairs, because ignorance is really not a defense with the Lord. He wants you to look at it and say, hey, what am I doing with what God has given me? And if you do well with it, God says he'll bless you. If you don't know what's going on, how can God bless you with more if you can't take care of what God has given you now? And sometimes you will get into trouble, even with a budget. But if you're doing things right with your money, doing it God's way, according to God, he will be there to bail you out always. He's been there in my life, time and time and time again. And when we don't do our part, how can we expect God to do his part? He says, hey, do this. And yeah, he knows he knows things are going to happen. He knows there's going to be things that come into your life, crises. But then God will be there because he, like a good father, what do fathers do? They want to bail out their children when they have a problem. Parents want to help them out. He wants to do that. He'll be there for you, but he expects us to do our part. So about budgeting. This is just some simple things about budgeting tonight. Like I said, we can go in a lot of different directions. So I just want to give you some simple ground rules. You can take what you want from this. We can go in different directions. Feel free to ask questions because I'm here to help you. I want you to be successful. I don't want you to be stressed out about money. Over 90% of Americans are stressed out about money. God doesn't want that for you. So here's the deal. You need to know where every dollar you have is going. That's the purpose of budgeting. Knowing the state of all your affairs. Not just some of your affairs, but knowing it all. And it's so you can make good decisions with your money. So you can see in black and white where your money should and should not be going. And when you see where it should be going, it'll help you do things better. And when you see where it shouldn't be going, you know what happens? You'll say, that's where it's, hey, I need to stop that. But you gotta be able to write it down. There's a bunch of computer programs out there you could use. Some come with your computers. You can buy some. If you want to know some suggestions, I can do that. And I can also help walk you. We want to do one night. If you want to pick a program, there's like QuickBooks, there's Quicken. We could do Microsoft Money. We could actually do one where I walk you through how I do my budgets and show you exactly how to use the program if you'd like to do that. But we need to know where all of our dollars are going. It's important to know that. And then things will jump out at you, and you'll go, I'm doing that. Hey, this is my problem, and it'll be so empowering to realize where your money is going, and you can only see that when it's written down. And a lot of people, when they start looking at their money, when the bank statement comes. Now, if you wait for the bank statement to come 30 days later, you might not see the little things. Because it comes and it's like all these numbers all at once. Budgeting is something we should do. I do it on a weekly basis. In this day and age of computers, I can go online banking, see your charges are, and catch something before it becomes a bigger problem. And if you just wait around, just hope it all works out, you'll get depressed. And you'll ask this question that everybody asks: where did all the money go? That's a depressing question, isn't it? You have money, and you go, where in the world did it go? You know what? Budgeting will help you be able to answer that question. And if you learn how to budget, you won't have these leaks. You won't have to ask that question because you'll know the answer to where it is, and you'll be able to get ahead. Because otherwise, without budgeting, it'll be impossible to get ahead because, it just doesn't happen on its own. Okay? So this is a God principle to do budgeting. So how do you start doing a budget if you haven't done one? Or if you are doing a budget and it doesn't seem to be working out, there's a couple common mistakes we want to talk about tonight. So I want to give you a simple way to start, but it'll be different for every person. And there'll be questions. Feel free to ask, and if I have time, I'll answer them today. If not, I'll put the answers on the Facebook thread. So the first thing you got to do is figure out how much money you make in a month. If you're getting paid weekly, that'll be 4 checks. If you're getting paid bi-weekly, that'll be 2 checks. And now the second thing you do is figure out what your needs are that you have to live on, what you need to survive. Okay, you need to have certain things in life to survive. You need a place to live. You need some food to eat. If you have children, they have needs and a responsibility to take care of. Another thing you have to do is you have to put God in there. And you might wonder, why do I have God in there as a survival mode? Because a lot of people sometimes they wonder, why has God to be first? Does the church need your money? No. Do pastors need your money? No. And there's some out there that put the pressure on you. I don't do that at our church here at New Beginnings Church, and I don't want to put that pressure on you either. But why does God need to be the top of the list? It's because you know what? He says, if you put me first, I will make sure you're taken care of. And in Malachi, he says this: if you do that, try me and see if it doesn't work out. And I've seen this happen so many times in people's lives, in my life. I want to give you an example of a friend of mine. I was doing my internship in 1992 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I was in a Sunday school class. My friend's dad was running the class, and he owned a gas station in town, and him and his friend were a partnership in the gas station. And they started out, they didn't have a whole lot, and they budgeted and did things right. And after a couple of years, my friend's dad, he was doing quite well and was able to buy the things he wanted to, and when he had a problem, things were taken care of. But his friend ended up getting out of the partnership because he was just losing money left and right, and he couldn't figure out why. So one day, my friend took him out to lunch and said, let's look at things. He looked at the numbers and said, hey, we're partners. You're getting the same money I'm getting. And we looked at the expenses on both sides and looked at everything. And there was one difference between my friends who owned the gas station and his partner. My friend gave to God first before he did anything else. They had literally the same expenses, the same type of car, same type of houses, food. They both had 2 kids. They both had similar things. And you know what? When they found out, they started talking about it, and the guy on the one side says, well, I had this crisis that came up, and it just blew my budget. And my friend said, yeah, I got some crisis too, but you know what? Every time I had a crisis, somehow God just provided, or money just showed up. You know why that was? Because he put God first. Why does God want to be first? Because he wants to bless you. He wants you to succeed. He has more money than you can ever imagine. He doesn't need your money, but he wants you to trust him as your partner in life. You know what? This is called right on the money, with the T being a cross. Because we do it God's way. God says you'll never be forsaken. He's never seen the righteous begging bread. And he wants that to. And you have to make this choice to put him at the top of the food chain. Because here's the deal. If you wait till you see what's left over to put him there, here's what will happen. You'll never put him at the top of the food chain. If you don't make this choice, you'll always find a reason not to give to God. I didn't say give to the pastor. I didn't say give to the church. I say give to who? God. Do it the way God asks. Because you give your money, you're giving to God. Say, God, do what you want with it. You know, when you invest in God, then God can invest with you. And if we don't do that, then how can people go to God and blame him for their financial problems when they didn't trust the example that God gave in the Bible, right? And God says he'll come through. And if he doesn't, then, well, he's not God and doesn't love you. I'll tell you right now from personal experience, time and time and time again, he always comes through. Next thing you need to do is you need to assign $1 to each one of these survival things. You need to assign a number what you need to survive. And after you do that, then look at there's wants and there's needs. Okay? What else do you need in your life? You know? And then assign dollar amounts to that. Now we're going to get to the first common mistake before we go on with budgeting. One of the needs that you have to have is to assume something unexpected is going to happen in your life. You need to budget something for this. It doesn't have to be a big amount. It could be $10 a week. It could be $100 a month. Who knows what it is? But assume that it's going to be something, because life happens. Things happen. God tells us in the Bible, hey, as Christians, sometimes we're going to go through trials for His glory. But you know what? He tells us that so we can be what? Prepared. Now, we might not always have enough money to cover it, but if we think right and we're prepared right and we do what God asks us to do, He'll be there to bail us out. And you know what? And if you have this money set aside as a need, when something does happen, guess what? You won't be as stressed out, because you'll at least maybe you have enough to pay it off, or maybe you have enough to start a payment on it, or you're not stressed out with people coming after you for the money. The next thing you do is you need to assign the dollar amounts for the things you want but don't necessarily need. Because we're allowed to want things. God wants you to be successful. He wants you to enjoy life. Now, if this amount exceeds what you bring in, this should be a red flag. This should be the third tier of your budget. And it means either you need to adjust something around the top, or say, I don't need this right now, and it'll be clear to see. That doesn't mean you forget about it, but maybe, hey, in your current state, start thinking of ways how you can make that happen without sacrificing your survival needs, and then the needs you need the second tier down to enjoy your life before you get to your wants. Because sometimes we get our wants and pay for them, and then we can't pay for our car bill or our house bill or our electric bill. You know what? Then what happens? You get this thing called buyer's remorse. Boy, I wish I wouldn't have bought that. Because once the money goes out the door, it's out the door. But if we have a plan and we budget, and remember that little savings thing, you can buy the thing you want later on. I'm not saying don't do that, but God, and as you do this, what's God saying? He gives gifts in your life. You'll have things come into your life that'll help you be able to do the things you want, because God wants you to enjoy life. Then, the next thing you need to do is live within these numbers for 2 months. Now, why do I say 2 months? Because it takes about 2 months to develop a money habit. Sometimes it takes 3 or 4, but at least for 2 months. And what you'll see is a pattern develop of your spending, both good and bad. And the great thing is you see the good things happening. Hey, what you'll be able to do is say, I want to make those good things continue to happen. And you'll see areas where, oh wow, the money kind of drained over here. And this is why I got this issue here. And it'll jump at you, and you'll be able to say, okay, I can attack this problem now. Either I need to stop doing this or budget better for this. And you'll be able to see things, and you won't be able to ask that question, where did it all go? Well, guess what? You'll be able to say, hey, I know where it's going now. And it takes a couple months to see that. And live within those numbers at all costs. Now, if survival needs end up being more expensive than you thought, the first thing you do is you take the money allocated to your wants to make sure you got your survival needs taken care of. Because here's the deal. If you lose your house, you lose your car, you lose your relationship with God, hey, guess what? You're going to have problems. But if those are taken care of, hey, the other stuff can be replaced, can find different things. And this will teach you what is really important in your life. And will help you learn to make choices that will help you control your money so your life is more enjoyable. Because the biggest thing about money is what does it cause in your life? Stress. You want to relieve that stress. And sometimes giving up something help you make those choices to give up something for a little while, or rearrange your life, or maybe downsize a little on things so you can have what you really want in life. And I'll be honest, this may be a little painful for 2 months. Okay? But it will develop something you need, a light at the end of the tunnel that you can get a grasp of your finances. And be able to make those tough choices. And you might not be able to live within a number. If you can't, but they'll help you learn where you got to go. Or maybe, hey, I need to change this, or spend a little less here, or try to make a little money here, or do something a little bit different. It'll help you learn what you need to do going forward. This is not going to, 2 months, I promise you, it won't fix everything. But it'll get you on the path to start thinking in the right way, the way God wants to. And you know what also happened? I believe all my heart, when you start doing, because this is a principle from the Bible, that God will begin to bless you. Because, hey, I tell you this from the beginning, I'll tell you this every time we meet. God wants you to be successful. Remember, rich is not always having a ton of money. There's a lot of rich people who are miserable. You know, that people are always asking for money, or there's scandals, or someone's always after them. They have a target on their back. What is rich? Being in a position where money doesn't control you. And that's the point of this class. You know, we want to get you to the point where you don't have to live paycheck to paycheck. Wouldn't that be great? You know, and it's not going to happen in one class. We're going to do this every 2 weeks. Ask lots of questions. There's going to be lots of questions. If I don't have the answer, I know people can get the answer. But I want to help you. I want you to be successful. Because you know what? It's such a relief when you don't have to worry about that. And that's what God wants you to do. Now, there's a huge benefit to budgeting this way. Because if you get paid weekly, you get 4 checks a month. If you get paid bi-weekly, you get 2 checks a month. But that works out to 48 weeks a month. Okay? Or 24 if you're getting paid bi-weekly. Well, a year is 52 weeks. Or if you're bi-weekly, it's 26 checks. So if you do this right, you can live on that. Here's the cool thing. You will have, if you're weekly, 4 checks unaccounted for, and bi-weekly, 2 checks a year unaccounted for. That's free and clear money to spend on whatever you want. Hey, you have a car repair that comes up. Boom. You already have an instant emergency fund if you can learn to live within this system. Isn't that great? Now, you might say, well, Pastor, I have this going on. Well, the idea of a budget is to say, hey, what is most important to you? You know, say you make $500 a week, and you get paid weekly. That's $2,000 into the year, free money. Boy, that takes the pressure off Christmas or going on vacation, doesn't it? Bi-weekly, that'd be $1,000. You know, if you make $300 a week, the minimum wage is $290. Okay? That's over $1,000 a year. Almost $1,200. $1,090. Let's see, 360, 290 times 4 is 800 plus 4 times 9, 1160 a year. If you're making minimum wage. Wow, wouldn't that be something? And if you're both making money as a husband and wife, well, think about what you can do with that. If you can live within a budget. Now, it makes making choices. And you might have questions about those choices. I'd be happy to answer those questions for you. Now, we get to the last thing today. Oh boy, I had a question about credit. I'll probably post that online. We only have about 7-8 minutes left. But what I want to do is I want to talk about the other common mistake that comes with budgeting and derails most budgets. Okay? And it's not taking into account everything that comes with an expense. Let's use a car as an example. Okay? You will always need a car, right? We always got to go to work. We got to get places. You know, in this world, you know, we got to have a car. Almost everybody needs a car. Okay? But what can you really afford? Now, here's what happens at the dealership. Okay? You go to the dealership to buy a car, right? They run your credit. Or if you don't have good credit, you go to one of these other places. They try to figure out what you can afford. And they come back and say, you can afford this much. Well, here's the deal. They're trying to tell you how much, the most money they can get you to use to purchase on a car. Because they want to make the most money possible. But what they don't tell you when they tell you how much you can afford is, the car payment for your car is not the only expense for a car. What are other expenses that go with a car? Well, how much gas you'll use in that car. Insurance on that car. Registration every year for your car. Inspections for your car. Maintenance. Your car is eventually going to need tires. It's going to need an oil loop filter every 3,000 miles. It's going to need brakes, etc., etc., etc. And here's what happened. People go out and they go to the car dealer and he says, yeah, you can spend $420 on a car. Great. And then something breaks down in the car. And what happens? Or an insurance bill comes like, well, I didn't think about that when I bought the car. Your car dealer's not going to put that in the price of the car. Because what does he want? He wants to talk you into buying the most expensive thing you can. He's going to have all the great language. He's going to tell you how great you look in the car. He's going to take you on a drive. He's going to, you know what? Because his job is what? To get the most money out of you possible. And they're really good at it. I get lots of people come to me with car problems and because they got a car that really they couldn't afford because you didn't take everything into account. We need to take all the expenses into account for a car. And then once you take them all into expense, do it on your own, figure out, hey, what's the car I want to buy? This is what the insurance will cost. Hey, I put some money back for maintenance. I know I'm going to need this, this, and this. And then you go to the dealership and you know how much you think the expenses are. You can say, oh, this is what I can afford. And you take that number off of that number, and now you get a car that doesn't stress you out. In 23 years of ministry, between cars is like one of the biggest things I've had people talk to me about problems. I got to get this, I got to have this, I got to have this. You know what? It can destroy your budget if you don't think about all the expenses around that. Now, you can apply it to other things, especially big purchases like homes, appliances, clothing. Think about clothing and expense. If you have kids, they're going to grow out of things quicker and things like this. You're going to have different things. You got to think about all the things that go around with going that. And that might be a lot to throw at you, but that's why a lot of budgets fail. You know why? Because they say, I got my car expense. $420 a month, my car payment. Yeah, I got that budgeted. The problem is that $420 car payment is more like $600. But we don't realize that until the insurance bill comes. Or you blow a tire. Or you get an oil loop filter. Or you got the transmission fluid has to go. Or something like, oh man, I don't have the money for that. Well, we need to take into account that going in. The world's out there. They want your money. They're not going to help you. The people selling stuff, they want your money. They say they want to help you, but they don't. And God wants you to use your brain and think about these things. And if you do your homework first, here's what you will never have. Buyer's remorse. And why do we get buyer's remorse? Because we don't know how to pay for the hidden things that we didn't think about when we bought the thing. And if we do that, car's just one example. It'll help you, and it'll help you not to stress things out. And like I said, this can apply to almost every major purchase you have in life. And if you do all that, you'll be able to say, hey, this really is, you'll know if it's a good deal or not. Because you'll be informed. So, I hope you have enjoyed this tonight. Because you know what? God eventually, you get this right, then when you get your wants, you'll be able to get the things you want. I don't know about you. One thing a lot of people want to have in their backyard is a pool. The cost of the pool is cheap, really. It might be $2,000. It's really not that expensive considering how long they last. But the maintenance on a pool is very expensive. But if you know how to budget, hey, you can buy the things you want, and then they won't stress you out. Sometimes people buy stuff that they want, and they get stressed out because this thing they bought is eating them out of house and home. It's a money pit, for lack of a better word. But God says, hey, if you learn to budget properly, do the right things, you know what? You'll be able to avoid those pitfalls in the future. And so there might be questions on that. Feel free to ask them. I would love to talk to you about it and see how I can help you. Like I said, this is just one of the first steps of making a plan. We're going to talk about different things. And next time I'm going to lead off with somebody asked a question about how, if you have bad credit and getting a credit card and things like that. I'm going to talk to you about a few things about credit cards. On October 29th, I'm going to talk to you about how you can get free money to go on a vacation using that. I will lead with this, though, about bad credit card. Credit cards aren't bad, okay? Here's how they're bad. If you're not disciplined. The interest rates are terrible, but there's a lot of benefits you can get with it. A lot of safety with it, believe it or not. And like I said, I'm going to teach you in about 2 weeks how to use credit cards to get over $1,000 a year in free money. I'll give you one example before we go. Our church, when I came here, we had a credit card. It wasn't giving us anything. So I convinced our board to go with this certain credit card. I'm not using it online. I don't have permission to do that. And it gave us, and I said, it gives us back 2% on everything we buy. I said, let's buy everything on it. End of the month, pay off the bill and see what happens. And there was a little discussion about finally we all agreed to do it. And in the last 2 years, the church has gotten $2,600 free to use on things in our church. Just buying stuff that we normally do. Isn't that interesting? $2,600 free. I'd like to show you how to do that. But here's the caution. And then we're going to go for tonight. Is if you don't have good credit, you're afraid of a credit card, either one of these two, the question you have to ask yourself, can you be disciplined? Can you say, I'm going to take this, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to pay it all off each month? Because the danger of credit cards is, I got free money. Credit cards are not free money. They're the worst way to borrow money. But if you pay it off every month, it's not borrowing money. It's the same as cash. And we'll explain that later on. But if you can't be disciplined, there's a second question you can ask, because you can still take advantage of this. Can you trust someone else other than your spouse? Because rarely, if one or the other is bad at it, it's kind of hard for the spouse to tell the other one you're not doing things right, okay? Find someone other than your spouse who can have access to your expenses and be able to tell you, hey, you need to stop so you don't get in trouble again. If you can do that, In a few weeks, we're going to lead the next class with talking about how to help your, and I'm also going to talk about how to restore your credit if you have bad credit. We'll do all that in one session. And if you have good credit, how to make it even better. So, and there's some wonderful tricks about that. But if you can't do those two things with a credit card, don't get one. It's not for you. You'll get in worse trouble. But if you can be disciplined and learn to be disciplined, or have someone that you allow to speak into your life, it can be a wonderful benefit for you. Well, thanks for joining us tonight for Right on the Money. I look forward to hearing your responses. And next time we'll talk about a few other things in the plan to get you on the right way. If you have any questions, feel free to ask us. And I will post the answer to the question that the person asked last week, but I also still talk about it live on October the 15th. We'll see you then. Thank you.